Let me introduce today our guest, Mr. Rajiv Saraf, who is CEO for Lepton Software. And Rajiv is an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur, class of 89, and MS and PhD from Vanderbilt University, USA. And he founded Lepton Software way back in 1994. And Lepton Software is a leader in location analytics, map data, and geospatial consulting practice with more than 25 years of experience across multiple business verticals such as telecom, FMCG, logistics, and transportation, government, retail, IT, and automotive, etc. And Lepton is a pioneer in getting digital maps to India and also one of the biggest partners of Google Maps. So, Rajiv sir, welcome to the platform of BBeta Consultancy.
Thank you.
So our first question is, so you are in class of 89, which is way back a pre-liberalization era. So which is absolutely different era from what's there in currently in 2020. So if you can just tell us about your journey and your background, that how you started and what was it like in the post-liberalization era, post 91?
So 89, I graduated in 89. So
Yeah,
immediately after graduation, my undergrad, I went to US to do my master's and PhD. Right?
yeah,
So till 94, I was still in the, college world. So,
yeah,
nothing liberalization or non-liberalization, didn't really matter to us so much, right? In the
uh,
college different world in itself. So in 94, after I finished my PhD,
yeah,
when I came back to India.
yeah,
Then I joined IIT Delhi as as a senior research scientist.
yeah.
And I was in the academic world for 2-3 years,
Mm,
and I think my family has always been in business, so it was just very natural for sort of was the
okay.
blood to go out and be an entrepreneur.
Huh.
So create the sort of thing, although the company got created earlier,
Yeah.
yeah, I started sort of playing around with doing something around 98, 99. I don't remember the exact timelines.
Yeah. So, sir, how did you zero down on this particular domain, which was like very, very niche domain? It's still a niche domain today in 2020 also. We found very
Yeah,
few companies.
it was a niche domain. It's still a big challenge.
Okay.
So when I was in, when I was in Vanderbilt and I was doing my masters, and so a lot of the work that I was doing in so my area was transportation engineering.
Hmm.
The part of transportation engineering and dealing with the networks, maps were very critical to it,
Hmm.
the planning and transportation. So I got exposed to the GIS.
Hmm.
I was in my master's program.
Hmm.
Sort of it looked quite exciting,
Hmm.
and it looked just the way it was able to represent data and give you insights. It was just something very intriguing and very interesting.
Hmm.
When I came back in 1994, in Delhi, again, when I was with IIT Delhi,
Hmm.
I was set up and worked together with them to create GIS data for Delhi as well.
Hmm.
Actually not create, but more of a use the data for the transport analytics and all. That's where my interest started. So obviously, when I was thinking of doing something, I said, hey, why not, get into GIS? But yes, you're right that it was a very, very challenging
Hmm.
initial years because nobody knew what GIS is. Right?
Yeah.
So our breakthrough really came when the when the cellular licenses were distributed,
Right.
and in the cellular networks, one of the key once you start planning your network, which is very
Uh,
important for the cellular network before you start
right.
to plan your network. One of the key requirement was that you require a digital map.
Correct.
Planning tool, all the planning tool work on digital maps.
Right. Right.
And so we sort of saw a ray of hope. And then we started working with the telcos.
Right.
That's where we sort of got a break, working with the telcos. And I'm glad to say today that more than 80% of the networks in India
Right.
have been sort of planned on the maps that we have provided.
Oh, that's great. And so, with how big team you started way back in that time?
So I just when I started, I had just one employee. I mean, it was all organic.
Okay.
There was no way of building up a team without work in hand.
Uh,
So yeah, so I mean, once we started getting people, we started putting more and more people on board.
So, sir, since it was a very challenging journey, I would like you to list down like which were the three biggest challenges that you faced in your entrepreneurial journey, and how did you solve those challenges?
Of course, they were challenged very specific to our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, I mean, one of the big challenge was initially I said it was a very very new area, right? So people were not aware of it, right? So it was like a lot of education was required,
Right.
and because there was no government provided content, a lot of efforts was required to build the digital maps, and that was so expensive that nobody would actually do it.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the developed countries, the government was actually publishing or providing digital maps. Now, at a
Mm-hmm.
personal level, of course, I mean, the third thing was, of course, the customers uh, started to think the customers in India, as I said, they were not, they're not very open to sort of innovative ideas.
Hmm. True.
Hey, look, yeah, this is great. Let me try it out. They want to go with something which is tried and tested. But at a personal, in terms of growing the company, I thought the biggest challenge was always that, I did not have a peer in the company. So it was sort of, they say it's very lonely at the top. So you had nobody to sort of bang on, discuss your idea or bounce off your ideas. And so the whole
Mm-hmm.
your team was missing.
So how challenging was it to find the right people at that point of time?
So initially, since we are doing primarily on data content,
Huh.
uh, yeah, I mean, so getting a people has been a challenge all along.
Okay. Huh.
Sometimes I think it's also good quality versus the cost. Also trying to get at a cost
Huh.
where where you can run your business, right? I mean, we have never looked for funding. We have never asked for funding. This was self-funded. We've grown organically through our internal funds.
So you never, Rajiv, you never raise any fund. You put your own money, like family fund.
Yeah, initially we put some our own money, so that's why we've grown slowly. But that's what I
Okay.
I did not want to have sort of people sort of hanging on my neck asking me ki paise do, paise do, paise do.
So you are different, like most of the people from the first they start. So you never prepare a pitch deck.
No, no, no. So in between, I had in 2000, around 2000, I started another company with some other people from IIT Kharagpur called Manchitra.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a part of the Manchitra, we went around looking for funds. We did get some funds and that. We went with the flow that time and we tried to raise funds, but that was for a different company, not for Lepton.
Okay. Okay.
So if I have to put your journey, like you started way back in 90s and now we are in 2020. So you have seen some sort of three eras, like a pre-digital era, a quasi-digital era, and now after 2016-17, we can say that we are in a digital era. So what do you think that has really changed across all these years in terms of acceptability, in terms of customers, and awareness within the government segment?
One of the things that has happened from our industry perspective is that, of course, after the Google Maps came in,
Hmm.
and they also gave a platform for people to, with the APIs, to build application.
Hmm.
They sort of democratized the whole, I would say, a GIS industry.
Correct.
When I say democratize, it means that in the earlier days, if an organization wanted to set up a, do anything around maps,
Hmm.
it was a hugely expensive affair.
Hmm.
So it was something that would only be used by very few people in the top tier companies, right?
True.
Or I mean, very very few companies would be doing that. I mean, it was like a big, very challenging to sort of convince them. Telco was, as I said, inherently doing it. But
Hmm.
telcos, if you look at government and beyond telcos, there was some here and there, but nothing really big, big
Hmm.
scale.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, after Google Maps came in and they make sort of location as a very critical thing, and they made it easily available. The maps, the APIs, the platform, and every you see almost every startup today sort of consuming maps and everything into their applications. Almost the entry barriers have been removed. You can start off with like almost $0, right? I mean, you don't have to spend money.
True.
So that's a big change we've seen, is that there's a much more awareness. It has created much more demand. Of course, some of the things the maps have sort of become commoditized in the sense you cannot compete on the content side. You cannot compete with people like Google and all earlier.
True.
It's all about around content. That business is gone. So we have also evolved. Right? So certain things become commoditized. Certain things, but the whole GIS has become more widespread. Almost every application, every dashboard, everything that you see, they're integrating with maps now. So almost become it's a horizontal technology which you see everywhere.
True. No.
100% across all industries. I mean,
Very true. So like within the COVID times also, like GIS is the key contributor as per the technology to, to plan resources and contain all those things.
Yeah, we actually launched a product called My COVID Risk.
Okay.
As in, again in the form of API. So it tells, and a business can find out the risk of an employee or a customer or an asset. Real time, I mean real time in the sense, of course, based on location, right? Really based, right? So your government is like saying these are containment zone, they are red zone. All that information is not there at one place. We collected all that information, we formed an API. If you look at the whole basis of Arogya Setu, what we hear about contact and trace, it's all based on location, right? So
very true.
Inherent, the whole treatment and prevention of the disease, location has played extremely critical role.
Very true.
Yeah.
So how are you looking at the geodata domain, your domain, considering the two situations, that is one before the pandemic and the other after the pandemic? What are your views on the growth of your domain?
Geospatial industry?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I think it's a growing industry. There's absolutely no doubt. As I said, more and more people are adopting, location, right? So I mean, and from our perspective, small size, I think every time there is a problem and it creates opportunities. There will be new set of opportunities. Of course, I mean the challenges is in terms of organization trying to cut down cost. They're having revenue losses, so that's going to impact indirectly our industry as well. Decision taking is so that in a way is going to. I'm sure it's going to impact our industry. But overall, I think it's a growing industry.
Right? Raju, when you started, you ever thought like you will become such a big market leader? Like, what was a dream? Like, what are you thinking and where are you?
You're not market leader. Google is the market leader.
No, I'm saying it within the India 80% market share holding. Like, when you started, let's say 94, had you had any dream? You put your target, you just become like.
I mean, the dreams, of course, you have. Everybody has dreams to be big, right?
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, we are not there where we wanted to be, but we're pretty happy with where we are. In the Indian scenario, we have a pretty, respectable position in specific verticals that we work in.
Okay.
With the years, as I said, we moved. I mean, we started with content, then we built our own, products, GIS solutions. So we have product for telco. Then like on the fiber life cycle management, and for that particular product, we have almost 60-70% market share in India, and we compete with companies like GE and network, Ericsson, and we compete with this kind of products. So I think we have done pretty well for ourselves in that respect. But yes, I mean, just that this industry, the market size is very small. So being small market size, you can only get so much out of it.
Very true.
And a lot of the market size is, again, you get a market size, and out of that, I don't know, maybe market size within the government. And we don't really do it with the government.
Very true.
So in the private sector, if you look at, so we have done, fairly well in terms of.
Sir, so you work around with a lot of location-based data. So, and we are living in a, age of technology and the age of digitalization. So how important is data security in today's world, and how are you maintaining that sanctity of data security?
Of course, the data security has always been important, right? So while you will do your best, there'll always be hackers. So this is a continuous, fight that keeps going on, between the two, right? I mean, the data protectors and the data hackers. So we use all kind of, in order to, so there are two kinds of data. One is the data that we generate, and the second is the data that we get from the customers, right? And both of them have to be worked in different, contexts. So we have internally, we have, of course, whatever typically requirements of the firewalls, controls, email access rights. We do all those kind of controls that we have on the data side.
Now, sir, 2020 is a very, very different time than, the mid 90s. Now we have digital infrastructure, 500, 600 million people on smartphones. We have internet user, and internet is ubiquitous also. So given a chance, or say in 2020, which is the business where you will put your money on or you are very passionate about?
I think, of course, I think the food business will always continue to grow. The cloud is food delivery, and of course, the problem with the delivery business is, the winner takes it all kind of stories there.
Yeah.
But the other, not in a sort of a verticalized way, but data analytics, I think, is going to be a big
Okay.
area. Automation and data analytics. That, and as a part of data analytics, I see, like location analytics, is something that's going to grow in the future.
I just wanted to know, like, this 5G when will come, like this broadband and all these things. What will be basic change of these broadband structures? Because speed up also of the telco and these local broadband also can bid for 5G. And what will be scenario post 5G? What you are looking at?
Nobody's going to bid for 5G in India. Nobody outside of traditional telcos. Why would, it's not about just bidding and getting a license. You have to build a infra. The cost of building infra is huge. Then acquiring customer, you need to have deep pockets. Like somebody, Reliance 2 can only come and do that, right? Now almost the subscribers are divided, right? So 5G is from a consumer perspective, the things may not change a lot. What did really change from us when we went from 3G to 4G? It was a seamless, we don't even know where 3G runs, where 4G runs. If I'm getting a good, I only need, certain Mbps to have
True.
No, what will happen to this broadband? Because will the broadband people also will bid, and they can also, because tower, you can put your home tower now in a 5G. Like you don't have to put a big pole na, in a 5G.
No, it's nothing like that. Because 5G is exactly like the way it's going to work in 4G. But the problem is the 5G is that actually require more infra, because your sites are, the frequencies are very high. We work on the sites are very, the site is a very short distance.
Yeah.
If the site is a short distance, you have to have low sites because you don't want the signals overshooting. So that's why, the number of towers that you require to cover from 4G, the areas that is getting covered with 4G, you want to cover them 5G, you'll probably require 1.5 times of infrastructure. So the infrastructure will be owned by the, either infrastructure company, this one. As an individual, nobody can go own infrastructure. I think one business will grow is, home broadband should get a big, kick out of it. Just because I think it would have grown otherwise also, in the sense that, a lot more people are consuming data, and, they want high speed data at home, multiple devices. That's because of pandemic, now work from home and everything. The home segment should see a big uptake.
So which are two most critical problems which you are very passionate about by implementing remote sensing techniques to solve it?
One of the things that is happening today is, there are companies who are using now remote sensing technique to identify pollution. The companies who are using remote sensing techniques to identify, wildfires. So I think environment is one area.
Okay.
Where I think that, it's going to really, play a lot more. One of the things which will also happen, like in terms of, change detection. Construction, we have got a lot of requests of people saying, hey, say I've worked with telcos, then they have a fiber cut. They say, look, can I automatically identify where, some construction is happening along the route?
True.
Today they have to, send patrollers, they're doing up and down, and crores of rupees. They don't want, hey, can I do it without sending somebody on the field? Or, illegal construction happening, and remotely you want to see how much of construction happening.
True.
The industry will probably see a lot of this remote sensing techniques being used to
Right.
track engine.
Huh.
Having had such a vast experience from graduating from IIT Kharagpur to going to Vanderbilt University and pursuing MS and PhD, then eventually you started your own companies. So what are the key takeaways and learnings that you would like to share with today's youth?
In terms of learnings, in terms of, so first thing is first learning only from business side is that you certainly believe in something, stick to that, right? You will have ups and downs, but if you stick with that, something will come out of it. I mean, a lot of times people tend to suddenly we start putting fit into multiple or foot into multiple boats. So ये भी कर लेते हैं, ये भी कर लेते हैं, ये भी कर लेते हैं, and you spread thin, and then like always trying to say. So I've seen that does not really create sometimes you don't create core capability, and don't you get you're not respected as a champion player. One of the key thing I'm realizing today is that your skill sets are not constant. You have to continuously keep upskilling yourself. And when I say upskilling, it could also, it doesn't mean that you have to go and take classroom classes, but you should keep reading, maybe just attend webinars, listen to things, and things are also getting very multidisciplinary, right? I mean, it's just not, you cannot focus on just one area. And who would have thought 10 years back that AI, ML, will cloud and satellite imagery and all those things will come together to create a solution, right? You cannot just think of satellite imagery and okay, I'm just going to study. You have to keep updated on all kind of technologies which are happening around you. That's one important thing that you need to continuously do, is upskilling yourself.
Right.
I've got one question. Like, Riya, you have okay. I'm saying is you have seen 90s may when you started this startup I never knew, and now the culture in India startup that time was. So how does it difference will have in India will have like few years down the line? Okay, right now so many startups are coming, and that point of time very few were there. Like you were rare.
I think it's much better. I think much younger people are doing startups.
Yeah.
They are more open-minded. The working culture is very different, very flexible. I think these are very good changes. Very tough to make changes into a company which has been around for 25 years, to shake the existing establishment. But what is happening today, I think it's for good. I think the way the guys are, and and the other thing I'm seeing is that the speed at which they work is also pretty high, fast. I mean, they turn around and do things. It's pretty fast. But yeah, I mean, in terms of change, the cultural changes, I mean, it's there. I mean, like, I think they're all young people. There's a lot more, sort of cross connection. People tend to work together. For the, and I mean, the whole ecosystem is also much more supportive now than it was there. You have so many VCs, PE, funding scenarios, all kind of platforms to showcase your product. A lot of things have changed.
I also had another question, which is personally for you. What do you do to rejuvenate? Because handling a company is a very stressful job.
So, of course, I play squash. So that was really a big, stress buster for me. But with the whole thing going down, that thing is. But of course, I love sports, so I do something or other. But yeah, of course, I have also started. I do meditation. I mean, whenever not, I mean, I want to do every day, but I'm not able to. Last few weeks, I've started cycling. So
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, last 2-3 weeks. So we go a couple of times in the week. We go in the morning cycling. So that's also pretty lot of fun.
Yeah, so sir, I had another question. How do you analyze the risk factor of a particular business idea? If you have had
I get carried away. I think every idea is a great idea. I'm not able to, I mean, I have put money in a couple of startups. They've all lost money. So I'm personally very bad at. For me, every idea looks great. I think the challenge is always execution. I'm not able to assess the execution capabilities of the people.
So how many startups have you invested, Rajiv?
2 or 3, nothing much.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, So I'm not a regular investor in the startups. I mean, I started one company, Livana. I mean, I was more of a
Okay.
startup, but I mean, it was a separate. I was almost driving and I was funding the whole company. So that sort of closed down. But in the third party driven, I think, I mean, some independent. I think maybe 3 companies so far.
In a post-COVID era, which industry do you feel will drive the the Indian market towards a better progressive future?
IT.
And which aspect of IT field do you think that in down the road about like 5 to 10 years, which aspect of IT will be working towards driving the whole country ahead?
So digitalization, I mean, it's not about our country or any other country. You could just be in the,
Yeah.
it could happen earlier or later. But if you look at digitalization is a big thing where, people are trying to digitalize and automate every possible. And I think more and more of AI and machine learning will start playing a major role. I mean, we already see a lot of that happening in China and US, which are like a global powerhouse today. The digital marketing, I think, is going to become very important. Yeah, I think because
You're in right
you're
area.
not going to go and meet anybody, and the cost of travel, meeting, direct is a pretty huge cost, right? And how do you reach out to your potential customers and all those things? And I'm suddenly realizing that digital marketing is the way. So,
Yeah, so I was asking Raju, someone, the lead which comes, how many leads you do it and how many leads directly customer searching. So you can reach to some people. But saying most of the cases when we 95% lead comes by automatically. Okay, when the customer is searching and I was asking in Oyo, one of the, yeah, in the consumer segment.
customer search करने के लिए भी जैसे Riya will tell you you have to create content, you have to do SEOs, which is all part of digital marketing, right? It doesn't
Yeah,
just कि आपका कुछ वेबसाइट में आपने कुछ किया हुआ है तो आपके पास आ जाएगा वो करके.
right.
Could be on
Right.
1,000th page.
Yeah. So like as you initially you rightly said that your piece of business, which is predominantly GIS, remote sensing, and which is predominantly dependent on the government side, from the government business.
It was, yeah.
Still it is.
Yeah,
Like
the industry, large industry, yeah.
So, sir, like, what will be your like if you were given a chance to suggest to government or be on some panel of government body, what will be your suggestion to them that how can we use this technology to the best and what are the things they should do to fasten this?
सबसे पहले तो they should come out with a very clear and a very open liberal data policy. So that if you look at the current government map data policy is so restrictive. Technically, every GIS company can go to jail today. I mean, the new policy that we're trying to become, again, they were trying to put so many things in there. So they should make it like a very open. That's the first thing. And absolutely, you can get any kind of satellite imagery you want now. If you want to buy high-resolution satellite imagery, you have to go through NRSC and the control and defense controls. Let just let everything go. Terrorists don't attack because of maps. I mean, don't blame maps for attacks and everything, right? US opens up all the data. It's not that there are attacks happening everywhere. That's the first thing. Second thing, every money that government spends on getting data, map data, they should put it into a public domain. I think huge amount of money is spent within the government, from qualities to different places. Maps, but nobody knows where that map goes. Lies there, this thing. I think if they just do these two things, it just open up a lot more.
Yeah.
People start using those data and come out with new ideas, like Delhi started. Some of the cities have been Delhi have started putting even basic transit data, right? I mean, there are real-time transit data in the public domain. And you'll have apps. I mean, like New York did something. They all their public transit data,
right,
data into public domain. Their ridership went up because the people started building apps, and the more awareness, and the ridership on the metro and the bus network went up.
True. Thanks for a lot of insights. We really had a good time, and Lepton is one company which is really dominant in telecom space. Nobody can
Beat them.
take away the business whenever it comes from your platform. Kudos to you for being a visionary and starting this in
Yeah,
a niche.
something Raju, you have started something nobody could thought of. Dream.
Yeah,
Correct.
like way back in 90s, it was like many people still they don't know about the power of GIS and remote sensing and all those things. So it was really a visionary and very, very bold step which you have taken and created a amazing company.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. All the best.